to order of the MAG Intelligent Transportation Systems Committee. For those around the table, please turn on your microphone when speaking so that those on the phone can hear you. For those participating via Zoom, please remember to unmute your device before speaking and mute when you are not speaking to create a positive experience for all attendees. Phone participants should use *6 to mute and unmute and *9 to raise their hand. The MAG public comment process provides opportunities for members of the public to comment on items scheduled on today's agenda or on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. 3 opportunities are provided for public comment, including call to the audience, the consent agenda, and action items to be heard. MAG also provides the opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments via the MAG website prior to the meeting, as long as the comments are received at least 1 hour prior to the posted start time for the meeting. If you would like to comment at today's meeting, please fill out a white request to speak card located on the information table in the hallway. Please be sure to indicate the item for which you want to speak and give it to a designated MAG staff member. If you parked in the garage, remember to validate your ticket. Parking validations are available on the information table in the hallway. For those who purchased a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. Please note that hearing assisted devices are available from MAG staff. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members. First, we have Susan Anderson.
This is Victor Ian from ADOT sitting for Susan Anderson.
Thanks, Victor. You Bilak.
Present.
Tricia Boyer.
Here.
Dave Cates. Alyssa Dahl.
I'm here. I just wanted to make a note. I may have to leave the meeting early and I will have one of my colleagues sit in for me for the rest of the meeting. His name is Danny Mahaffey, if that happens.
Sounds great. Thank you. Alan Galicia, sorry. Albert Garcia.
Present.
Ellie Voslin.
I'm here. I'm sitting in for Kathy Hollow today.
Thank you. Hong Ho. Hong. Okay, Bruce Littleton.
Here.
Right there. April Wire or David Lucas. I'm not sure who's in this one.
April's here.
Steve McKenzie, not present. I'm filling in for Steve, for those of you that are wondering. Eduardo, I should have brought my glasses. Raudales, I think I have some in my bag. With City of Maricopa. Marshall Regal. Raquel Schatz. Raquel. Ward Stanford.
Here.
Mike Sutton here. Joseph Ortiz for Christopher.
Here.
Oh, right there. All right. Tessa Wessel.
Here.
Tony Whitfield. I don't believe she'll be there, right?
Jeff King here to cover for Tony.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. John Willett.
Present.
Zhao. She Song Zhao. Yeah. Oh, right there. All right. Sorry. I'm terrible with pronouncing anything. Marty Zeek.
Present.
Thanks, Marty. All right. Are there any-
Mike, this is Hong. Sorry, I'm late. So I don't know, probably you already called me.
I did. I appreciate you speaking out. I was
I'm
just gonna.
present.
Is there anyone else who may be online that we missed?
Mike, this is Woodchuck with Avondale. I wasn't sure if you were able to hear me the first time, but I am present.
All right. Anyone else? All right. With that, let me see where I'm at here. Before our next item, I'd like to welcome Kathy Hollow, our new ITS committee member from the city of Tempe. Welcome, Kathy.
Thanks. Kathy was sorry she couldn't be here for that first meeting, so
That's okay.
thank you for
But
the welcome.
like I said, I'm going to mess this up somehow. So, Dr. Xiaosong Zhu, as a new ITS committee member for Arizona State University. Thank you as well for Simon. All right, I'll write that one down. All right. Our next item is a call to the audience. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. 15 minutes will be provided for a call to the audience agenda item unless the committee requests an exception to this limit. Members of the public who are attending in person may deliver their comments from the lectern at the front of the room. You have up to 3 minutes to complete your comments. A timer is provided to assist you. When the light on the timer changes from green to yellow, you have 1 minute remaining. If the light turns red, a buzzer will sound, meaning your allotted time has expired. Have we received any requests?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Members of the ITS committee, we received no comments on this item.
All right, so we will proceed. All right. Are there any other comments of the public here today who desire to speak on this item? I don't see anyone. Are there any other comments that MAG staff knows of on this? Okay. All right. Our next item is the approval of the minutes of the meeting held on 6/1/2022. Please take a few moments to review the minutes if you have not done so already. If any committee member has any revisions, feel free to bring them up at this time. With that, could I have a motion to recommend the approval of the meeting minutes?
Move to approve.
We have a move from Bruce to approve these minutes. Do we have a second?
Mike, this is Albert. I'll second.
Thanks, Albert. And Bruce. Now we're going to go ahead and go through roll call and then just give us a yay or nay as well. Victor Yang,
Yay.
Yu Bialk,
Yay.
Trisha Boyer,
Yay.
Dave Cates not present, Alyssa Dahl, or yes, Alyssa Dahl. That's why.
Yay.
Alan Galicia, not present. Albert Garcia,
Yay.
Ellie Voslin for Catherine,
Yay.
Hong Ho,
Yay.
Bruce Littleton. You motion, so I guess it's a yay. David Lucas or April Wire.
Yay.
Steve not present. Eduardo wasn't there. No Marshall. Raquel, did you by chance join us? Okay. Ward Stanford.
Yay.
Mike Sutton, yay. Joseph Ortiz,
Yay.
Tessa Wessel,
Yay.
Jeff King,
I'm a non-voting member.
thank you. John Willett,
Aye.
Simon, and Marty, Zeke.
Yay.
All right, thank you. Okay, with that, the meeting minutes have been approved. Make sure that I didn't miss anything. All right. Our next item is the program manager's report. The MAG Tismo program manager, Jeff Jenk, will provide a report to the ITS committee.
Good morning, Vice Chair Sutton and the member of the agencies of the ITS committee. The first item on my program manager's report is a federal updates. I'd like to invite Mr. Jeff King from the Arizona Division of the Federal Highway to provide that update. Jeff?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and Program Manager. So as you can see on the screen, the first bullet is in reference to section 11304 of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill. And that section directed the Secretary of Transportation to develop new guidance for using existing flexibilities with respect to the systems engineering analysis that's described in 23 CFR Part 940. The goal is to avoid unnecessary burden on state and local governments, prevent unintentional imposing requirements exceeding those outlined in law and regulation, and enhance the necessary engagement and collaboration between the division staff and our counterparts and partners with state and local agencies with respect to ITS projects. The links that you see on the screen will actually give you the same thing. The easiest one is probably just go to the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law webpage. And in that, you'll find a memorandum that gives a more detailed description of the purpose of this, as well as some additional links to additional guidance. The second bullet actually is happening tomorrow. Portions that are pre-recorded in its website to demonstrate how to use the ITS JPO's ITS databases to plan your next ITS project and potential investment. These ITS databases summarize the benefit costs, deployment levels, and lessons learned from over 25 years of evaluation research on the effectiveness of deployed ITS in transportation system operations. The session will demonstrate how these resources can be used throughout the ITS deployment lifecycle and illustrate with several sample projects. And again, that is tomorrow at 10 a.m. if you can join that. And the third bullet As the safety guy for the division, although usually traffic incident management is housed within operations, I'd be remiss in not mentioning that the National Crash Responder Safety Week is coming up quickly. It's held the week of November 14th through the 18th. The Arizona Aztec TIM Coalition has been participating in a lot of planning calls and will be hosting training on November 9th for anybody interested in learning more about traffic incident management program. They'll also be providing outreach, which most likely for several agencies will include DMS messaging. And they're planning some other TIM events, one of which it's in discussion right now is hosting a one-day, I think it's either going to be 4 or 6 hour TIM summit somewhere here in the Valley. In addition to that week, here in Arizona, we also kick it off with an annual Move Over Day, which is hosted by the Arizona Professional Towing and Recovery Association. That is Saturday, October 15th. And you can find more information on that at the APTRA website, or you can email me. And lastly, as some of you know, not only did Tony accept a promotion to our headquarters Office of Operations, I recently also accepted one to the Office of Safety. My new focus will be on speed management, and fortunately, neither one of us have to move. We get to stay here in Arizona. So in the very near future, our division will be assigning new coverage and or point of contacts for this, as well as several other meetings that both Tony and I have historically participated in. Also, the division will be diligent working in the coming months to fill both the operations engineer and safety engineer specialist positions. So it's been great working with everybody since I've been back in Arizona. It's been a pleasure, learned a ton, which is in part how I was able to achieve my new position. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. I'd like to congratulate Tony and Jeff for accepting the headquarter positions. And we look forward to your successor and the continuation of the federal updates. So next item, next slide, please. So this is an update on the recently completed FY 2022 Tsop projects. As you can see that there are 8 retiming projects. One is only for the collection of the turning movement counts. And there is 1 evaluation project that the one at the bottom that actually conducted the TransSync evaluation on 2 of the projects. That's one in Tempe and the other in Gilbert. So where we stand, all the retiming and data collection were done before the fiscal year, June 30th. And then the evaluation, we just received the evaluation report in the midst of reviewing it. Next slide, please. As we speak, the next wave of the Tsop project is around the corner. And this is FY 2023, the meant to start next July 1st, but all the planning has started a month ago. As committee remembered that in June, we approved 12 projects. And this recommendation from ITS committee is being forwarded up the chain of the council. And now we'll get the eventual final approval in September. On the right, it shows the location of those 12 projects for the 2023 Tsop. As committee might remember that there was a leftover of 126K from the call for projects. So subsequently, there will be another call for projects that will be released on August 22nd. And this time we will allow up to 4 weeks for submitting your projects. So the due date is on September 19th. And again, the remainder project, the budget is 126K or so. That's approximately sufficient for another 2 to 4 projects. Next slide, please. Also related to the Psop is we are organizing a Psop working group meeting that's scheduled for August 24th. And this is a working group meeting aimed to solicit feedback from you, basically the feedback sessions. And of course, in that session, we will review again, what we intend to do with the Psop, and then we will ask the agency for your specific feedback, how we could improve, and in terms of delivery, in terms of the call for project, the project definition, and everything else. Also, we would like to do in this working group meeting is to provide a heads up on the future direction of the Psop, that we will go data-driven, meaning for now, we were just passively awaiting for the submittals every year. But now MAC, with our several experiments with the additional performance data, that we will be able to provide some data-driven analysis as a supplement to this Psop call for project process. Next slide, please. Also related to the Psop is this next wave of the Psop project that will start effectively July 1st of next year. There is a major change in what we call the workflow, and that concerns the work scope for the consultants, that we have moved, we have included the TransSync as a requirement for all the signal retiming project. And the role of TransSync is not just for collecting some evaluation data, shows that there's changes, but rather we effectively using the TransSync run for the final tweaking of the timing. So and with that, and we know that the TransSync would provide a very definitive information recording, overlay on the of the time-space diagram and whatnot, and those can be used more effectively to provide feedback to the consultant and the agency for the final tweak of the timing. So with that requirements, that we are offering this TransSync training to all on-call consultants as well as the agencies. And I think Omar is doing a great job organizing this training. The training will take place next Tuesday here in the Tsar room. It's a whole day event from 8:30 to 5:30. So we still have seating capacity. So if you have not registered, please do so. We're limiting 2 staff members per agencies. Next slide, please. I think there's another slide regarding TransSync. Eric, could you go back up?
There's not.
Oh, there's not. Okay. So I guess that's a hidden slide I'm talking about. That I just want to touch on the agenda up for the TransSync training. That it is meant to be an orientation for all the on-call consultants, so that it's a very valuable orientation per se to work on the next Psop project. So you will hear the MAC Psop workflow and where TransSync fit into the retiming project. We get to build an actual signal network using the tools. Again, in person should be more effective than the online training. Also, you will hear and learn about the evaluation requirements, that all projects will be evaluated using the Inrex data, as well as with your limited TransSync run for the final tweaking. So again, if your agency have not registered, please do so. It's next Tuesday, 8:30 to 5:30. So next slide, please. So this is the heads up of the ICM working group. As committee member might remember that there is in the SMNO plan a line item to conduct ICM planning, essentially for all numbered freeway in the MAC region. So this is a meeting a virtual meeting that scheduled for August 16th. And we will brief you on our latest developments on this plan, including logistically. I mean, we're talking about the whole regions and what you could expect from preparation coordination standpoint. In this preparation process, we also spoke to the Loop 101 mobility team regarding their need for the ICM, the planning and other. So this is an important working group meeting, August 16. Next slide, please. So this is my final item to provide an update on the new TIP call for project timeframe. We have a $9.4 million left over from the previous TIP call for projects, as well as a repurposed $4 million from a SMNO line item static wayfinding sign. And we have done a series of working group meetings discussing. We sought guidance from the MAC TIP group regarding the call for projects. So this reprogramming has been approved by the Regional Council June 22nd. And we subsequently sent out a survey to the member agencies soliciting your preferred timeframe for this call for project. And the majority of your responses has indicated that you would, I mean, we basically have three different time period for your specification that I think the majority of the decision is to go with December of this year. And so this diagram shows that the full whole 9 yards of the call for project before we could make any final selection. It's a 6 months process. There are a lot of interim steps. Some of those will concern the ITS committee members that require your participation, such as presentations or ranking and all as such. And you will notice that, and there are more detail to it. I mean, there are also involvement with the MAC air quality a group. They conduct a separate analysis based on our inputs, and their result has to be obtained before we can make the final determination of the project selection. So it's coming. So just want to provide a heads up. And that concludes my programs manager's report.
Thank you, Jeff. With that, I will open it up for any questions that anyone might have for Jeff. I have one question, and that is on the last group of Psop projects. Have all of those final reports been sent out? Okay, because the question had just come up and I didn't have it right in front of me. That's the reason I'm asking in the last couple of days, but I'll look for it. And with the TransSeek training, I know you mentioned that there were some slots available and you're allowing 2 per agency. If by chance someone wants to contact you at the last minute, if there are slots available, is there an opportunity?
There are a few slots available that we can accommodate, I think, up to 5 additional people. So if anyone has additional staff that they would like to include on the training, please send me an email.
I will say that I as well think it's very valuable. And we do have a couple of people that are attending that. Let's see, I guess that was probably the only question that I had. Is there anyone else, either here or online, that has any other questions for Jeff? Looks like you're free.
Mike, sorry, it's Trisha. I raised my hand, but I don't know if you guys are watching that. Is there a virtual option for the Transig training?
Hi, Trisha. There is no virtual option currently. There's only in person, but we do plan to record it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. With that, we'll proceed to item number 5. This item is Inrex Signal Analytics Pilot Study. Here with MAG. MAG is procuring Inrex Signal Analytics, a cloud-based application that uses anonymous connected vehicle data for assessing the performance of signalized intersections and traffic corridors. Signal Analytics is a subscription service that provides a wealth of information on intersection traffic performance without the need for integration with the traffic signal management system. The Inrex Signal Analytics will be available to all MAG member agencies through a MAG pilot study. Dr. Gary Carlin, PE, Director of Business Development for Inrex, will provide an overview of the signal analytics, followed by the plan for the pilot study by MAG Transportation Data Program Manager, Dr. Wang Zhang. With that, I'd like to invite Jeff to go ahead and provide an overview of this item, and then he'll go ahead and introduce the speakers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So Inrex Signal Analytics is a new service and that Inrex has provided based on the Weizhou data. As the committee member might remember that MAC ITS Autismo Group has worked with with Dr. Wang Zhang for some in-house experiments on the Weizhou data, and we're talking about the raw data, and that is think of it as a GPS trail of individual vehicle moving through the traffic network. And in that early experiment that we found that the Weizhou data is a good source that could potentially replace or improve our current traffic signal timing operations. And with that, it could replace or the floating car method, for instance. And so again, I mean, floating cars is a old school procedure that after you retime the signal or corridor, you have to drive it, right? You drive it with a GPS, you drive it with a stopwatch in the old days, and document where you got stopped and how long you got delayed at where. And those are indication where, say, the offset might be off, that, you know, there's feedback loop to the signal timing. But again, the floating car is expensive, and because, I mean, they are driven by an engineer, and also due to the physical limitations during a, say, 2-3 hour peak period, that if you one car, you bouncing back and forth on the corridor of 15 miles, you could get only a limited run, and only you're interested in one of the commute direction, not the other. So that's how we ended up with a very small number. We're talking about 5 or 6 runs. And that is typical for what we experienced with the Psop project. So the Weizhou data give hope, and we knew that Weizhou data in our experiment showing using our actual Psop corridor, that we found that there are dozens of 60, 70 of runs during the time period. So with that, MAC has continuously furthered our interest in anything Weizhou related information that could potentially be used. Inrex did a service by processing these Weizhou data in the cloud. So what they're offering here is a portal that we could use and see these subscribed intersections. So so this one is when Dr. Zhang approached me of this pilot procurements that he has in mind. We're excited because this will provide an interesting opportunity. One, that because Inrex give you the resulting statistics, right? Not the raw data, but MAG has the ability to play with the raw data. So it could give us an opportunity to verify the quality of the information. And so with that, I mean, so Mr. Carlin, unfortunately, has a last minute travel schedule conflict. So instead of presenting the present in person, that online, he is offering a recorded presentation. So, and that will be followed by Dr. Zhang for a heads up on the plan for the pilot procurement.
Good morning. My name is Gary Carlin. I'm the Director of Business Development for Inrex, covering the Western United States, and I'm here today to talk to you about signal analytics. I'd like to thank everyone with the MAG ITS committee for this opportunity, and also to apologize that I cannot be there in person due, unfortunately, to some changes in flight plans. So without further ado, let's jump into Inrex Signal Analytics. Before we talk about the product itself, though, I'd like to tee up a little bit of background and talk about the opportunity. So some of you may be familiar with this pie chart. It goes back to a study done back in 2004 by FHWA, seeking to attempt to determine the various causes of congestion. The important takeaway from this one is the highlighted section or slice of the pie chart, which shows that poor signal timing was accounted to be the reasoning behind about 5% of all congestion. Fast forward to 2019, and on behalf of the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, the UMD's CAT Lab utilized some Inrex data underneath an I-95 Corridor Coalition study to reevaluate national causes of congestion. And as you can hopefully see here, they determined that based on better data and better evaluation opportunities across the board for a variety of other causes, they determined that signals accounted for somewhere in the neighborhood of 20% of all congestion in the United States. Two quick caveats. This is only based on the national highway system, which means once we include arterials, these numbers will likely go up. But even with this, we're looking at about 350 million vehicle hours of delay every year due to traffic signals. So let's talk about what is signal analytics, the fundamental. So what we're doing that is very different is we are taking directly consumer connected vehicle data, 3 to 5 second drop rate, GPS data, and we are mapping this against the OpenStreetMaps network using an Inrex trip engine. These waypoints or trajectories or trip paths, as we call them, are then turned into metrics. So these GPS points are stitched together as individual trips and allowing us to track the vehicles through the intersection. And this resolution of data allows us to create metrics. And those metrics become the basis then for a lot of tools. So as I mentioned, this is 100% from connected vehicle data. So we're showing you how to use data that's 100% GPS based with very high temporal resolution. And the other important takeaway is no infrastructure required. So there's no field data collection, and we do not have to get inside the controller cabinet for timings. So how are we doing this? Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to define an intersection such that we can evaluate the metrics associated with it. So once we have defined an upstream and downstream portion of the intersection, we can then calculate travel times. And from there, we can also calculate speeds. And we can also make assumptions related to a reference travel speed, or basically an unimpeded flow through the intersection, that allows us to then calculate delays. Once we have all these basic parameters, and by the way, we do calculate the difference based on a stop being less than 6 miles per hour. We modeled stops as being 0 miles per hour, and it ended up that the data actually fit better with a 6 mile per hour correlation. But once we have modeled all this, we then have the ability to create metrics. And so what we're trying to do here is essentially provide, in a very cost-effective manner, as much as you would normally get from an ATS-PM deployment using 100% GPS data. So things that are available include travel time, approach speeds, control delay, from which we are able to derive HCM level of service, turn ratios, vehicle counts, split failures, and stops and arrivals on green. There are 2 parts to signal analytics. I'll walk through these modules in a second, but just to give you some an overview, there's going to be a dashboard which will include intersection analytics and corridor analytics, and then it will be a separate online custom reporting tool set. The dashboard will come every morning into your inbox without having you do anything based on the intersections you've picked and the corridors you've defined in advance. The custom reports allow you to run custom before and afters to evaluate the impacts of signal timing changes or any other geometric improvements you may make around intersections. Okay, so let's walk through these 2 and how they can be used. So there's a lot of use cases, but some of the core use cases that we see is scanning your entire network and prioritizing intersections for further investigation. So if you have the responsibility for evaluating a number of intersections, so as an example, in Maricopa County, where we're looking at upwards of 4,000 intersections, that's quite a lot of intersections to have to manage. This allows you to quickly and easily scan all those intersections and identify intersections that have performance degradation or are suffering other issues. You can also evaluate making changes to those intersections after you have found the problematic ones, and also perform systemic before and after studies and utilize the outputs for modeling and simulation software and further evaluation. So let's walk through what the first portion, the daily dashboard report, looks like. And this, by the way, is based on an actual report from the City of Austin as part of their deployment. So the first section gives you a performance metrics view for your entire network. So this is going to give you an overall breakout of all your intersections by level of service, average control delay for the last period as well as the last 4 weeks, and some very high-level system type metrics. We will also be showing you the top 5 intersections that have degraded based on both delay per vehicle as well as total delay for the intersection. We'll be doing something very similar for corridors, in this case by travel times and by travel time index. And again, the agency will define the corridors, the beginning and ending, as well as select the intersections as part of this process. Next thing we're going to do, or the next tab I should say, allows you to look at a geographic or map view of the intersections that are covered. And in this case, hopefully you can see in the center of the map, one of the intersections has been selected. There's a little blue circle around it. But the other important takeaway here is that we measure data every day going back to January 1st, 2020. And so there's data available on all these intersections on every approach every day. Once you click on an intersection, it brings up a diagram of the intersection showing you the movement information as well as some approach level information. And you'll see things are color coded by level of service, so it makes it kind of easy to interpret. And you have the ability to use a drop down to toggle between the 8 metrics I showed you previously. One final point here, you may notice at the bottom, there's the option to click on radio buttons between scaled and observed. So you have the ability to see the observed counts, which means those we've empirically measured using the GPS data as having traversed the intersection during the time period in question. Or you can attempt to, if you would like, you can toggle to scaled, and those will then be will be extended based on our volume profile, which is a separate AADT product. If you click then again on an individual movement, it'll bring up a map view of the intersection, so you can see the intersection geometry from a Google Map view. You can then click on an individual movement, which will bring up the detailed information in the center panel on that movement. And if you click on that approach, Then you'll get, and I apologize, I think my picture is partially obscuring this. You'll get a time of day arrival pattern, which is really cool because it shows you when vehicles arrive on green, when they arrive on red. And as you can hopefully see just above my little viewport, there's some hashtags, hashed bar areas, and that is showing you your split failures. So you can see by time of day very clearly when your problem times are occurring at this particular intersection. You can also view things in a list format and then sort or rank by any of those metrics. So you could sort by percentage of arrivals in green as an example, or any of the other metrics that I've shown you so far. In a similar vein to the intersection evaluation, we also have corridor metrics. These will be defined by the agency in a one-way direction, such that you have a one-way direction of travel, allowing you to evaluate arrival patterns and travel time indices. So as you can see here on the right-hand panel, you'll see for the last period, which is a week, the arrival pattern shown as green bars, and then there'll be a blue line chart overlaid on that showing you the last 4 weeks. So you can compare the most recent period against the last month and see if there's any changes. We're also going to show you some very detailed travel time reliability metrics. So this will include things such as travel time index, planning time, and planning time index. We're also including some of Purdue's really important work on evaluation of corridors and progression. And so you see things such as the corridor density function, cumulative density function, allowing you to evaluate how the corridor has changed or in an operational standpoint for the current period versus the last 4 periods versus free flow. However, we are all engineers, and we know that no matter how many modules we create, there's always going to be some use case that will not fit one of the modules we've developed. So to address that need and the need for specific before and afters, we have partnered with UMD's CAT Lab as part of the overall RIDIS tool set for an online signal analytics web-based tool. This tool, if you're familiar with any of the other RIDIS products, allows you to go in and pretty simply and easily select the intersections you want to look at, either by typing in a roadway name or using one of the simple to use GIS tools to select an area. As you can see here, everything's been highlighted in purple dots for the selected intersections. Once you have selected the intersections you're interested in, you then define a time period or time periods. So if you want to do a before and after as an example, you would have multiple time periods. You can select the days of the week. So if you only want to look at weekdays, that's pretty easy to do. You just deselect Saturday and Sunday. Maybe you only want to look at Tuesday through Thursday. These are all easy options to select from. Finally, you select your time of day. So do you want to look at the 6 to 9 a.m. peak period and the 4 to 6 p.m. peak period? You can add multiple time of day periods as well. Once you've made all your selections, at the bottom you will enter a title for this report and any notes as well. And once that has all been entered, you hit submit, and then this goes off in the background because there's a lot of data analysis and processing that has to occur. And when it's ready, you will get an email in your inbox with a hyperlink that will take you to the report. And there we go. I forgot to walk you through this, so I apologize. Once you open the report via the hyperlink, this is an example of what you'll see. This is for a real intersection, again, from the city of Austin. And at the top of this 3-panel output, you'll see that there's every single movement for the 90-odd intersections that I selected in the previous section. And you can sort through these. You can, again, sort by each of the column headers. So it's the same exact metrics as you would also be seeing in the daily dashboard reports. And you can sort by any of those. So again, you could sort by, as an example, percentage of arrivals on green. And then in the lower left-hand corner, there's a geographical depiction of the movement that we're looking at specifically. So as you can see from the tabular listing, there's a blue bar highlighting the movement. And in the lower left-hand corner, you can see there's an arrow showing you the specific movement. So in this case, it's the westbound through. And then finally, in the lower right-hand corner, there will be a stick configuration diagram showing you each individual movement. So in this case, we're looking at percentage of arrivals on green. There's also a small diagram that is shown in the upper right-hand corner of this portion of the output that shows you the physical configuration in a very simplified format. So as you can see here, this is nominally a T intersection, but it does have a skew off that's going onto this ramp for the bridge across the river. So it's not exactly a straightforward intersection. But again, you can toggle between all the various metrics that I've walked through before, the previous 8 metrics, and display all those by approach for the intersection. And as I mentioned, you can rank by any movement, rank by any metric, view by any movement. You can also filter by any metric. So if you have, as an example, 4,000 intersections and you only want to try and find those where you have a percentage of arrival on green less than, say, 40%, you could come down to the POG entry point and type in 40% as a minimum and hit run, and then it will only find those intersections within your total system that you selected that have met that criteria, whatever those criteria are that you want to apply. So in conclusion, signal analytics is a scalable approach, a systemic approach to allow agencies to evaluate either an individual intersection or all of their intersections for an entire city or an entire region. It is simple to use. You get daily reports every morning that will come to your inbox without having to do anything, and which many of our customers are using on a regular basis to find failed detection equipment. It is also easy to leverage these tools to identify problem areas and to, more importantly, make performance measurement-based decisions as opposed to perhaps dealing with customer complaints, outside political pressures that may be raised due to something getting into the press, or the not unusual practice of regularly just rotating scheduling intersections or corridors for retiming or reevaluation. And finally, by improving the overall signal operations, you'll also be reducing emissions and reducing carbon. And we feel that the use of these tools is specifically covered within some of the new carbon reduction legislation, and probably could be a good part of any grant application under that particular new opportunity for grant funding. And so with that, I'm going to conclude my presentation. I do apologize again for not being there in person to answer questions, but I will make this slide deck available to Jeff Jank for distribution, and I'm happy to answer any questions that may come up at a later date, or you can reach out to me directly. And again, thank you for your time. This is Gary Carlin with Inrex, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
I think the next slide is Dr. Wang Zhang of the MAG Data Program Manager. It's going to provide a heads up on the plan to procure the Inrex signal analytics.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Good morning, Mr. Vice Chair and the MAG ITS committee members. So I just want to take the next couple of minutes to give you some details about how we want to lay out this, pilot evaluation plan of using Inrex signal analytics. So this is a new tool, has been, introduced to the market by Inrex for about a year, we believe. And by doing this, we essentially are joining many other public agencies around the country to take advantage of this new generation of the data sources as well as revolutionary platforms. I think this information just provided by Gary hopefully give you some flavor of how powerful this platform, how powerful this technology is in terms of monitoring and measuring intersections traffic conditions. So how are we going to do this in this pilot study? So we will try to acquire the access for all the map images, but not necessarily on all the intersections we would have. So we want to start it small, just get a flavor of how good this product is in terms of using their information to precisely report what's really going on the field. Like Jeff mentioned earlier, MAC also have the similar data sources in-house. We can do lots of the evaluations and compare with what's being reported from Inrex, signal analytics to get some idea of that. So we have a goal established. We have a bunch of the qualified consultants that's ready for working with us under this. So essentially, this entire evaluation pilot study will be put under task order. And each member agencies, we would like to ask you for providing us up to 3 wish list intersections. I think based on our understanding of the data source, those intersections is better coming from the major to major intersections where we do not have to worry about the data coverage. And we would like to give you a month to get back to us with your wish list intersections. After this ITS committee meetings, I will work with you all, work with MAC TISMO staff to provide all the information and the details you need to solicit the intersections. And this is totally optional, and you do not have to participate if you think you're busy enough for the work you've been doing, or you do not have to provide us 3 intersections. If you think 1 or 2 is good enough for you to get a flavor of that, that's totally doable. And then once we gather all these feedbacks from all the member agencies, we will put together, evaluation scope. I think one thing Gary forgot to mention in this previous recording is there's another neat function in the Inrex signal analytics. So if we are able to get access to consecutive intersections along a corridor, let's say if you have a 5 miles long corridor and you have coverage for every individual major intersections on this corridor, they can also produce some matrices and the measurements for that particular corridor's bidirections. So that's another functionality we would like to test water for under these opportunities. So if some of the member agencies want to team up and provide the intersections along the same corridor, that's totally encouraged. If not, MAC will try to come up with some corridors with those intersections included in this scope. So you do not have to do that, but it's good to provide the intersection along particular corridors. I just want to mention that. And then this list will be finally confirmed by Inrex to confirm the data coverage. And I think we at this point are thinking about getting a full year of the access subscription to the signal analytics platform for all MAC member agencies and the MAC staff. So you all will be able to access this to play with it, get some hands-on experience. We think this is the best way for you to evaluate any new products. And then at the end of this, access period, we would reach out to all of you and solicit some feedbacks of your using their platforms and try to consolidate all of them and try to define what would be the next step. So at this point, I think this pilot evaluation is going to try to contain 50 to 100 intersections. I think that's a size that is ideal for such pilot studies. Unfortunately, we cannot give you access to all the signalized intersections in your jurisdiction at this point, but that's certainly something we would like to revisit after we finalize this evaluation study. So that's my information for you, and definitely we'll reach out to you after today's meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wang.
All right. With that, I'm sure there probably are some questions. If not, I do have a few. Is there anybody either present or online that would like to reach out and ask a question?
Yeah, since I'm involved in this mobility 101 study, try to build the signal data hub for this mobility 101 resulting plan. So I do see there's a need for us to try to have traffic signal data in a standard way to share with the Inrex, because I can see Transync has been effectively utilized a synchro data file to build the signal timing and the space-time diagram what effectively. If the Inrex can take advantage of available synchro file, they can do a better job in diagnosing in all these issues. So what I see from now, based on Gary's input, they are using OpenStreetMap OSM network. They might not understand all the detailed signal timing. They might not have all the share lane, for left turn, right turn, all these little dirty information available, but they do have a scalable solution, for many intersections. So I just want to raise this potential gap, in these two different projects or different products, and with the availability of signal timing we have in our region. Thank you.
Dr. Wang, do you have any comments on that?
I think Dr. Zhou's question is more towards Inrex and Gary. I already write down my notes. I think we'll definitely relay this question and comments back to them. Thank you.
Any other? Go ahead, Marty.
Hi, this is Marty Zeke from Valley Metro. I'm looking forward to this, and I think that it's going to help us, especially as we look to different users of the road from just cars. And I guess a question that I would ask for Gary as well is on our arterials that have light rail operating, how is that accounted for? And certainly the suggestions that we would bring to this from the Valley Metro side, at least a couple of them I can think of already that, are where rail interacts in some of these arterials. So just to keep that as a point of contention.
Anyone else?
Mike, this is Hong. So, but I think my question is also for Gary. Just what's their sample size? So sounds like they won't be able to get every car on the street. So what's their sample size? And also, did they? I didn't see that though. Did they include also the coordination analysis in there too? For example, like arrival on red, arrival on green. That's it. Thank you.
That's a great question, Hong. Ellie, you had a question?
Yeah, I guess it was kind of in line with Valley Metro's comment that should our kind of wish list intersections that we want to include be rail intersections, or is that would it be better for the study if we picked straight arterial to arterial? What would be better for your study, Dr. Zhang?
Thank you, Ellie, for your question. I also want to address Hong's question together. So I think based on our understanding how the data is being utilized for generating this analytics, I think this platform is capable of producing the matrices at the intersections that involve rails. So as long as car passing by this particular intersection, they shouldn't have problem with generating those matrices. But I think the Inrex has final say. I personally think it's a good idea to include some of the intersections with involvement with the rail crossing or light rail. I think that's a brilliant idea of testing full stretch of their products quality. So I would recommend you to come up with a list, wish list, including such intersections, and then let's have this list run by Inrex and get their inputs. I believe Gary has a full list of intersections. They're already providing the coverage under signal analytics in our region. We just have to make sure everything we submitted is already being included. That is something they're capable to do. So that's my response to you, Eddie. And to Hong's question, I believe if Inrex is using similar data coverage as we've been using from Wejo, the data coverage, I think Gary also mentioned on another circumstance that they are leveraged data, from more than Wejo data. So their sample size could be slightly higher than we have, but the Wejo data we have in our region is about 4 to 6%. So, thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else? You see any hands up there? Okay.
I got a question.
Go ahead, Bruce.
In the context, once the pilot is up and running, who's the point of contact for the member agencies to get the information that they'd be entitled to?
Thank you, Bruce. I think I will be serving as a point of contact from MAC. I will be coordinating this, pilot effort, to be responsible for providing the access to all the member agencies.
All right, and if there's no one else, I have a couple.
Mike, I think I want to share some of the perspective, because there are different type of performance measures out there. Okay, so how do we? What's the relationship between them, and is it one better than others? Can one just replace everything else? So if I may share some of my current understanding. So as we know that early day when we have the Inrex travel time data, that's reported on a segment. It just gives you that segment, and the travel time. We found that, that data is everywhere, right? It's without any instrumentation. So that is a godsend. However, the Inrex travel time is aggregated over the segments. And so from overall report on a region, on a long stretch of the regional corridor, that might be okay. But from traffic signal standpoint, we have a hard desire when someone tell you that this is off, then the next question is where it is off, right? So when it's aggregated, you don't usually have that information to feedback to your operations. And that segments, for instance, even it is as intersection to intersection, but we don't know which part of the delay is attributed to that particular segment that you could relate to, say, where a traffic signal analyst hope to say which phase, and how much is off. That you can do with Inrex travel time. Then it comes ATSPM, and the best thing since the sliced bread, right? So it recorded every single contact closure information happened in the controller. So now with those data, the timestamp when phase one turn on, phase one turn off, and then whether there is a detection or not, and all those things, you could put it together 24/7. And I literally seeing and could validate a particular complaint where someone complaining that the left turn way too short. And we could see things like if it's got gapped out or maxed out during that time period. So ATSPM is nitty-gritty, okay, to the phase level, but ATSPM has a limitations in, as you know, that is measured by individual intersections. Although the ATSPM dashboard tried to provide things like pivot, where you could lay out a series of intersections, but we know the data, the actual data is not something that passed through the corridor, right? The best thing you could relate to is, are we having the consistent arrival on green, right? And tweak, but it's not the same power or detail as a floating car. Now enter Wajo trajectory that we're talking about using actual vehicle traverse through the entire corridor and what happened where. So now what I'm trying to say is that I think each measure has a strength and perhaps some limitations. And that's why you heard, the Purdue's camp, ATSPM, they'll start thinking about including Wajo analysis. They're gonna give them the traversing through the whole corridor and where the offset might be off because the ATSPM itself does not tell you the offset information. So again, Wajo, that's, Wajo data, the way that the Inrex provide the service, one of the highlight is that we do not need to integrate with the traffic signal control system. And I personally think that it's a double-edged sword, depends how you look at it. One thing is ease of implementation, right? You got everything. You don't have to work with dozens of the jurisdictions and integrate with your system and whatnot. Then you could still get some measurement. But that measurement as to how you interpret it, to what extent you could relate to a particular signal timing operation of plan and phases, and that is kind of questionable in that you could show the 14% left and right and all that, but we know the hard desire is when that happened, what was the signal doing? What phases is it? They're gonna shed the light and probably provide a detailed operational feedback. But what I'm trying to say is I think there's a merit in the signal analytic that, that without a need to integrate, but the what we're interested to find out is, without the actual integration with the traffic signal system, to what extent that we could use it to feedback to our operations. Yeah. So that's my perspective, and I think I'm excited to see how this one go. This is not to say that ATS-PM is not an interest anymore, but each one provide a very detailed value in operations.
Thank you, Jeff. And I agree with you, Jeff. I'm quite excited about this myself, and you touched on a few of the items that I also kind of see it that way. And one of the things I was going to bring up is just like when we did those first arid projects, with Mesa and Tempe and whatever, and now we've sort of, from those projects, it's sort of driven some of the need for some of this Inrex data, and now we have it here as a region as well, and we still, at least in Gilbert, and I know other agencies as well, use that almost as like a standalone thing to validate the data that we're seeing. So we can say, oh, look, council, from these three sources, this is the answer, and they're all pointing the same direction. So therefore, this is a good idea, and I could still see that going, the same way. And so some of those questions that were raised, it just makes me think it may be a good idea to select some of those intersections that do have ATS-PM data so that we can validate some of the data that they may be collecting, from this pilot project. But it's very exciting. I mean, and there's a part of me that hopes, because it is nice having Inrex and pushing a couple of buttons and getting your data back without putting a whole lot of infrastructure. So if there's an opportunity here to do that, that's great. But with that, there comes a cost, and everything else. And I'm sure they'll be evaluating some of that as well with this study, as far as whatever ongoing costs there may or may not be, or, I don't know. So anyways, it's exciting. Are there any other questions before I move on? I'm sure there will be lots of questions as this project proceeds. So, all right. With that, we're on item number 6 for future agenda items. Does any member of the ITS committee have topics or issues of interest that you'd like to have considered for discussion at a future meeting? I'll pause for a moment just for you to think. Okay, judging from the fact there was no response, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item. And that is comments from our committee members. We'll go ahead and just ask if each member, if they'd like to share information related to any ongoing ITS related projects or activities in your jurisdictions. I'll go ahead and just start going down the list. And if you want to provide any feedback on exciting things that may be going on in your areas related to ITS. All right, first I'll go ahead and start with Victor with ADOT. Is there anything you'd like to share at this time?
Thank you for the opportunity. At this point, I don't have anything else to share.
Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to share from the city of Goodyear?
Nothing for Goodyear. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Assistant Chair.
Assistant Chair, I stand corrected.
That's okay. Tricia Boyer, City of Mesa.
For Mesa, I'll just share that our TIP project for video detection replacement is set to advertise this week, I believe.
That's exciting. David with ADOT or his representative, if there happens to be anybody online. He wasn't in roll call earlier, but I figured I'd check. All right. Alyssa, City of Chandler.
I had to step in for her, but there's nothing new for Chandler.
Sorry, Stefan, I did not write that down earlier, and I knew I had missed one. Alan, if you happen to be on with Glendale, if you joined late. Albert, with surprise.
Good morning. Hey, great job, first of all, Mike. Way to fill in for Steve, like a champ.
Great.
Just a quick announcement. We do actually have a vacant advertisement. It's the assistant director overseeing transportation. So if you're interested or anybody that you may know is interested, point them to our city website and it's good people to apply.
Sounds good. Thanks, Albert. Ellie for City of Tempe.
Thanks, Mike. Our only announcement is that we are about to launch our adaptive system that we're working with Cadence with Kimley Horn, and we're working on an adaptive system along Priest Drive, and that is about to go live. So if you're driving it, let me know.
We know who to blame is what you're saying. I'm just kidding.
Right, yeah, let me know how it's going.
All right. Thank you, Ellie. Hong, City of Scottsdale.
No comments from Scottsdale. Thank you.
Thanks, Hong. Bruce.
Just mention that we lost our deputy director. And then I'll also state that I now know who the new deputy director is because it's me. That was just effective in July. I will continue to represent the city on this committee for the time being. And then there will be a vacant traffic engineering supervisor position in Phoenix posted in the near future.
Well, that's exciting and congratulations on that. And did he retire or did he pass away or something? Because I want to say
I will just say stolen by another.
All right. Well, there you go.
On the private sector, but stolen by the private sector.
All right. Thanks, Bruce. April with McDot.
Hello. So just a few updates with the Loop 101 mobility project, the Glendale project for the adaptive system going around the stadium. I think that's slated to turn on later this month. So that's great progress on that one. Also related to the Loop 101 mobility project, there is an RFI posted for the decision support system. That's part of that ICM strategy. So that's on the street right now and closing, I think, mid-August, the 15th, around the 15th time period. So just FYI on that. As far as positions, we do have a network engineer under our technology branch, still vacant. So that one's still posted. And then for the operations side, the arterial operations program manager position, my old position, we have somebody coming in. Her name is Hasina Luna, starting on the 22nd. So you'll see her name and face being circulated around Aztec, McDot, and working groups like this. And then for React is going full time. So instead of using our sheriff's office folks after hours and other people within McDOT, we will have 12 full-time employees. So the first 2 positions have been posted. So if you guys know anyone that's interested in helping with incident management, definitely take a look at the McDOT site for those job postings. Some upcoming FHWA sponsored workshops that are coming into our area that you'll start hearing about is the travel time reliability. We have some presentations coming to from FHWA to our Aztec committee meetings in the very near future before those invites go out. So give you guys a bit of background on those. And then we also have a ICM related workshop coming as well. And then there was one more thing and I forgot to write it down, so now I don't remember what it is. So that's it for now, though.
Well, there were enough things I can't remember them all either. That sounds exciting. I'm looking forward for that before and after. The study at the end of that, adaptive project around the stadium, just to see how it goes. Thanks, April. Anybody from the city of Peoria? I know Steve's out, just in case. All right. Anybody from Maricopa? Anybody from town of Queen Creek? I think most of these are on vacation right now. Raquel, anything from Apache Junction? All right. She didn't answer earlier, but it showed her that she was planning on attending at least. Ward, anything going on in Avondale?
Nothing new here. Thank you.
Next is town of Gilbert. there's nothing to immediately report on what's going on in Gilbert at this moment. Joseph from Pinal County.
Nothing on our end. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Joseph. Tessa from El Mirage.
Nothing to report from El Mirage.
Thanks, Tessa. I guess we already got our updates from FHWA. John, anything going on in Buckeye?
Not much. We have a transportation planner being advertised if it's not already out there. And then we're about to get at least 2 or 3 more signals turned on, depending when the last little bit of materials can arrive for contractors, or depending on what we have in stock and can loan the contractor. Other than that, not much. There's a lot of stuff going on. Thank you.
All right. With that, I was going to go ahead and I guess I'll mention one thing is we are sort of on schedule, and that's with ADOT, and us with getting that interchange opened on Lindsay sometime in August, if anybody's curious, if you happen to live over that way. Now, Dr. Shu Sang Zhu or Simon.
Yeah, so Simon's easy. So yeah, thank you for this opportunity. I just want to say we have some transition in our ASU, but I just want to show Dr. Ram Paniala and me, we are really trying to be more engaged. We have about 150 students, undergrad students in our translation program every year. They are learning traffic signal. If you have any small help you want to utilize our talented student pool, please go ahead to send me email. We are more than happy to support. Okay, thank you.
All right. So basically, if you want some type of internship from ASU, it's being offered right now from his students, to help out in a lot of ways. And I know it's a great program you have going on.
Yeah, as we try to learn the transync, and we do really gain a lot of in-house capability along the way. So thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Well, thank you. I know there's a lot of vacancies, so I'm sure there's some voids to be filled. Marty with Valley Metro.
Nothing new from Valley Metro this month.
All right. Thanks, Marty. And was there anyone that I missed? All right. Well, let me get to my last page again because I switched back. All right. With that, if there's is there anything else from MAG before we go? All right, one last. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 7th at 10 a.m. With no further business, this meeting of the MAG ITS committee is now adjourned. Thank you so much for attending, both in person and online.